It's on. And well, first of all, what's your full name?
My name is Charles Frank Elias.
And what's your birth date?
June 6, 1925. June 6, D-Day in Europe.
Yeah.
I called and asked if it was all right. I said, go ahead.
On your birthday.
Yeah.
And then, where were you born?
In Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Okay. And you grew up there?
Yes, till World War II.
Yeah, where were you when World War II started?
I was probably a senior in high school when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Do you remember what you thought, what you did at that
Well,
time?
yeah, I kind of figured we'd lick them in a week and it'd be all over, like everybody else.
Yeah. Did you think, oh, I need to go sign up?
Well, I didn't right away. I won. We won the state baseball championship, and we were in St. Louis and playing against a team. Incidentally, the team that knocked us out of going to the National had Yogi Berra in right field and Joe Garagiola, the catcher. They beat us 3-2.
Oh my goodness.
So my buddy and I were voted the outstanding shortstop, second base combination in the Upper Midwest. So we signed professional contracts, and I joined the Marine Corps. My folks wouldn't sign, so I had this contract. But then I made a compromise. I said I'll go to the Navy instead. So I joined the Navy instead of playing baseball. But then in the Navy, 6 months, they transferred me to the Marine Corps. I'd go through boot camp again, and I was a Navy corpsman with the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Yeah. Company corpsman, combat corpsman with the platoon.
That's typically how they did that, right?
Yeah, pardon?
That's typically how they did it.
Yeah.
Navy,
Well, yeah, the
corpsman.
Navy furnishes the doctors, nurses, pilots, chaplains, corpsmen. Yeah. Well, really, the Marine Corps is part of the Navy, but they won't admit it.
So walk me through, if you can, the a bit of your training and then where they sent you.
Okay, well, I went through boot camp with the Navy in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and went through Corps School, and then I interned in New Orleans Hospital. And we had a choice. We took some tests. I had a choice of going to medical school at Tulane or going to the Marine Corps. 17 years old, like a dummy. I chose the Marine Corps, so they transferred me to the Marine Corps, and I had to go through boot camp again at Parris Island. And then I was the first replacement draft to fill in for the guys that were lost on Guadalcanal and Bougainville early in the war. And I joined the MOP up the end of the combat, the campaign at Guam. So I was on Guam, and then on Guam we trained for 6-8 months, and we weren't supposed to be in Iwo Jima. We were actually in reserve. They worked by 3 divisions, and 3 divisions would make one beachhead, 3 divisions, and our division was supposed to be the one to go into Tokyo. But our regiment was held in reserve in case they needed us on Iwo. And they did the second day we went in. So it's such a bad campaign.
Oh, what was it like when you?
Well, actually, the second day we tried to hit the beach and we couldn't get in. The shells, Mount Suribachi was right there at the end of the beach, and they had guns and mortars on railroad tracks, and they'd come out and they had every yard of that beach azimuth. Then they could drop and they were dropping the mortars in these Higgins boats, the ones where they flopped down. Yeah. And so we couldn't get in. We had so many boats blown up, so we were on a troop ship. We had to crawl down a cargo net. Oh boy, that was spooky, because I hate heights, and but we got down the net and got in, and we'd crawl up, and so we did get in the next day and stayed on the beach for a day or two, and then we got into the first airfield, which is a very small one. That was about the fourth day of the campaign, and that's the day the flag went up on Iwo Jima. Early in the, I don't know which flag it was, you know, there were two of them.
Yeah.
The first one was broomstick with the home style flag, and the next one was that famous one taken by who? Rosenthal, is that his name?
I think.
Yeah,
Sounds right.
yeah, so.
And you could see that from
Uh,
where you were.
Well, it would be we were down below and we could see the top of the mountain. It wasn't a big mountain, but our captain had binoculars, so we all got a chance to look through the binoculars. And little did we know how famous that statue would be.
Yeah, you would never know.
Yeah.
And there's really no trees to block your view. So
No,
just a rock.
they shelled that island for 40 days, battleships, 16-inch guns. For 20 days they bombed it, B-29s, and we went in there and I don't think we did a thing of damage. They were dug in so deep.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just
Incredible. What all were you able to do when you were on shore? And
well, the first couple of days we were in reserve, and then the space between Moriyama number 1, which is a very narrow, the island's teardrop shape, and it goes 4 miles long, and where we were was very narrow and very small airport, and just for little planes. And so that area to Moriyama number 2, which was a big last flat land on Iwo, the rest was hill country. But the big flat one, that's the one we needed for the B-29s to crash land if they were disabled, shot over Tokyo, because they took off from Guam, and it's 800 miles to Iwo Jima, 800 miles to Tokyo. So halfway, if they couldn't make it, they just landed on Moriyama number 2. So the fighting between Moriyama number 1, number 2 is nothing. I think I only had probably 3 or 4 casualties, but boy, that last day taking Moriyama number 2, they really put up a battle for it. We lost about half of our platoon.
And you, as a corpsman,
took care of every one of them.
What was it typically like for you? You're going out and check, actually on the lines, and
Oh yeah, we were right on the front line when they get shot. I'd take care of them.
so you're running out under fire.
Oh yeah, we're under
Shelling.
Yeah.
And
And what happened is under heavy fire, our captain was a big football player from, I think, Fordham, and he was standing up waving his arms, and he got shot right in the forehead. He went down on his knees, and I thought he was praying. But our lieutenant was a senior lieutenant, so he had to take over the company. So right at the end of that, taking Moriyama number 2, we had the airport side, but they had the control tower, and it was kind of up a little bit of a hill, a little bit of an embankment. So he crawled up there and looking around, trying to get the lay of the land, and he got shot in the neck, and it didn't hit any of the vocal cords or throat or trachea or arteries, but boy was he bleeding. So, and he was up there hanging on the crest of that embankment under fire. So I went up, crawled up, and as I was pulling him back, they shot me in the chest.
really?
So fortunately it went through a compressed battle dressing, so it took some of the steam out of the bullet. Otherwise it would have gone through me. So So I popped open, what we did, we had little sweats of morphine, you know, you'd poke a needle, you put the eye, a little plunger in it. And so I gave him morphine, one, I gave myself two. I figure, what the hell, if I'm going to die happy. So then I took a bottle dressing and put it under my elbow and squeezed it tight to keep me from bleeding. Then I worked on him and got his bleeding stopped. Then we called for, I called for stretcher bearers, and we got a stretcher and we got back to the battalion aid station. And
Need a stretcher for you too?
no, I walked half the way, and then I passed out, and evidently somebody carried me in. And
Wow.
when I came to, the doctor said, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, when you'd give somebody morphine, you'd have to put a little red tag on them and give the time, so they knew. So I had two of them on. He said, "What?" So he couldn't give me anything, and I don't know what they did to me, but in the MASH, it's the battalion aid station. They were just a few hundred feet behind the line, and so they had three lines. They had those who were going to die, just left them. Those that needed immediate surgery, and I wasn't critical at that time because I was breathing okay and had the bleeding stopped. So I don't know. He gave me something, and then somewhere, I don't remember, but we got aboard a hospital ship. And I think I went aboard the hospital ship at that night, and I didn't wake up till the following night. I don't know. And when I woke up, everything was white, bright white. I thought, my God, am I in heaven? And finally the nurse said, well, you know. So then they did just temporary surgery on the hospital ship to clean it up a little. And we got to Guam. Because of the heavy casualties, the hospital was filled. So Saipan's in the Mariana Islands. So they put us to an Army hospital in Saipan for about 3 days, and then took us to Hawaii for about three months. So.
And after 3 months there,
then
home?
well, about at that time the war was pretty close to being over, and they put us into what they called the casualty battalion, and the hospital had tents. Rather than taking up a hospital room, they put us in tents, and they said, "Go find a tent and sleep in it." So I did, and they lost me for about 2 months. I'd go eat, then I'd go in Honolulu every morning and come back at night, and finally they found me. But I was in the casualty battalion, and the war was over, and I got sent home. That's my experience.
Very interesting story. Did what medals? You got Purple Heart for sure.
Yeah, I got Purple Heart, and then I got the Presidential Citation, and I think they put me up for a Bronze Star, but I don't know if the lieutenant ever lived or anything, but I never got it. So and the Pacific battles, those are the other medals I've got. Yeah.
What'd you do after the war?
Well, I worked, I got home in December, so I worked in a defense plant for December till the following spring, and about 5 of us decided to go to Code, just play 1 year of football and then quit and go to work. Well, I made regular quarterback as a freshman, so I played, and then I quit going to class, and my midterms were 4 F's and a D. So the dean called me in and says, "You don't want to be here." I said, "Nope." And I kind of hung around in a group with his daughter, and so his daughter and the secretary found out I was dropping out of school, so they called the coach, and the coach said, "No, you're not dropping out." So he got my high school coach there, and I talked me into staying, and I stayed there. Graduated in 3 years. My senior year I couldn't play. I had a brain concussion, so they let me join the freshmen. I coached the freshman team, and we were undefeated, and the varsity didn't win a game. So the coach offered me the job as offensive coordinator. So that spring, he and I went to Oklahoma. Bud Wilkinson, he had those champions at the time, and we were running an old Bears tee, that lousy, everybody ran at the Bears offense, standing tee. So Bud Wilkinson, Furrow at Missouri, and Jim Tatum at Maryland, they were running the split tee. It was new, and Bud won about 3 nationals, so Coach got Bud in to let us come down and spend a week with them at spring training. We would be on the field and put us up in the field house. We stayed in the where the visiting referees would stay, and we ate dinner with them and had keys to the film room. So we just copied everything. I offensive coordinator on the blocking assignments for every play, every defense. So we went back and we went from the basement to the championship in that 1 year.
Wow.
So.
That's
And
awesome.
we won 3 or 4 more, and then I decided to go out and coach on my own.
So you didn't pursue baseball.
Pardon?
You didn't pursue baseball again.
No, I didn't. I did start baseball at Cole College, though. They didn't have a team, so I found an old batting cage in the ceiling and put it hung it in the gym. And Cedar Rapids had some good baseball players, so we started a baseball team and got it going. What I did is I thought, well, the big schools go south in the spring. Why can't we? So what I did is I called 4 small colleges, and I explained to the coach, we'll come and play you, but their second baseman had to take our second baseman home that night and feed him dinner. Put him up at night, so he didn't have any hotel or any meal expenses or anything. So we played 4 baseball games.
So how long did this coaching career go?
Well, then I went into high school coaching at Minneapolis Central. I thought I had a small college job, and it didn't work out, and my brother was in Minneapolis, so I came to Minneapolis, and I liked high school so much I stayed.
All right.
So the last 7 years of coaching, I think we lost 4 ball games and tied 1. We really had a good team. Then I went into administration as a programming principal, building the master schedule, assigning the teachers and kids and that type of thing. So last 10 years I was in administration.
Wow. All in Minneapolis?
Yes, Minneapolis schools.
All right.
Fun life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again.
You wouldn't do it again?
I said I wouldn't want it any different again, I guess was what I meant. Yeah, I would do it again.
Well, thank you for that. That's fascinating. Well, let me ask.
Are we off camera now?
Not yet. One other question, but what do you attribute to you making it through the war?
Luck. God.
And
Yeah, I've seen so many of those young kids die.
yeah, I guess especially in your role.
Yeah.
You,
We had a baseball team, and Al Dark was our coach once we won. We won the division. No, we won the battalion. Then we won the regiment, so we formed a divisional team, and Al Dark was our baseball coach. Do you remember Al Dark? For Cleveland, shortstop. He's manager in the late 50s, Alvin Dark.
okay.
Yeah. He was a shortstop, and I was a short. He says, I'll play second base, you're younger. So we never did get to go anywhere because then we went to Iwo Jima before we could pay. We were supposed to play Saipan and Tinian and some of the other Marine bases. But